Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. I am Dr. Zohra Iqbal from the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Today's session is on poetry. Let's begin by finding out what are the various terms and what is the origin of this term poetry. We'll also look into the various terms related to poetry. So to begin with, this term poetry, it had a Greek origin. The Greek verb poiao, which means I make or create. It gave rise to three words. Which were these three words? Poet, meaning the one who creates, poiesis, meaning the act of creation, and poema, meaning the thing created. Now these three Greek terms, they gave rise to three English terms. The first one is poet, the creator, poesy, the creation, and poem, the created. Therefore, the poet is one who creates and poetry is what he creates. It's important to see whether prose is different from poetry. So the answer is yes, it is. Prose uses language to convey meaning. That language is more expansive and also less condensed. Whereas it uses complete logic or narrative structure that poetry does not. So does that mean that poetry is illogical? No, it isn't. Poetry is not illogical, but it is often created from the need to escape logical, as well as it expresses feelings in a more condensed and compact manner. So what is the definition of this word poem? It's a collection of words that expresses emotions or ideas and also sharing personal experiences as well as feelings. Good poems generally leave the readers awestruck. They give them a sense of delight. They create images. In another word, if we say, poetry is type of writing that uses language to express imaginative and emotional qualities in addition to meaning. It may be written as individual poems or included in other written forms like lyrics or hymns or even dramatic poetry. There are many types of poetry. Basically, lyrical types, narrative type, dramatic type, and the special type. We'll first look into the lyrical types. There are three, basically sonnet, elegy, and ode. Then the narrative type, epic, ballad, and social. Dramatic type, dramatic monologue, soliloquy, and oration. And the special types we'll look into haiku, cinquain, and limerick. To begin with, the first type, the lyrical poems. They are short poems which have the characteristics of a song. They pertain to single mood and feelings and sometimes more personal in nature. The first type of lyrical are sonnets. The name sonnet is derived from Italian word sonetto, which means little song. It is relatively a short poem and consists of merely 14 lines, but it has a strict pattern of rhythm. Then it's classified into Petrarchan, Shakespearean, Spenserian, and even Miltonic. The second type of the lyrical form is elegy. It's a lyrical poem which generally expresses lament and mourning, and it expresses the feeling of grief and melancholy, especially on the death of somebody. The theme, of course, of these type of lyrics are death. The next type of the lyrical form is the ode. It's a poem of noble feelings, expressed with dignity and praise for persons, objects, events, and ideas. It is exalted in tone and formal in structure and content. The second category of poetry is the narrative type. As the name suggests, narrative means a story, but this is a story told in the form of poetic diction. The language used is of poetry and it can be real as well as imaginary. It has a special appeal and of course it uses the elements of the short story and that gives it a vivid picture. Using some of the elements of short story makes it enhanced in the quality. The plot, the characters and the dialogues which are present in the short story are present here too. In the category of narrative poems, we have the epics. This is a long narrative and it normally tells a story about the hero or some adventure. Now these can be oral as well as written. Earlier in ancient days, these did not have any definite author and also it was slow in development. But today's modern epic poetry has a definite author. The second type of the narrative poetry are the ballads. Just like the epics, they also tell us the story. But epic poems and ballad, what is the difference? The ballads tell us about the legend or the folk tales. Most of the ballads are written in 4 to 6 stanzas and they have regular rhythms as well as rhyme schemes. It often features a refrain. What is a refrain? That is repetition of lines or even groups of lines, which are the characteristics of ballad. The next type is the dramatic poetry. Now, as the name suggests, it has the elements which are closely related to drama. They use dramatic techniques, of course, and may unfold the story in a very dramatic manner. The emphasis is on the character rather than on the narrative, that is the story, which was true for the narrative type of poetry. Within the dramatic form, we have the first one as the dramatic monologue. This is a combination of drama as well as poetry. It presents some lines or the speech of the character, especially when this character is in some dilemma or in some confused circumstances. The circumstances have to be complicated in that time when the dramatic monologue is on. The next type in the dramatic form is the soliloquy. Here, the speaker of the poem is delivering a passage. Basically, he is the main character, and the thoughts and emotions which are heard are actually heard by the audience also. The third type in the dramatic form is the oration. It's a formal address, elevated in tone. The tone is more important here, and usually delivered on some notable occasion. The occasion as well as the tone should match. Now we come to the other important types, but which are a little different. First one is haiku. I've just picked up some examples, although there are many, but these are the most important ones. This is taken from the Japanese culture, and more importantly, it combines form, content, language in a meaningful and a very compact manner. The next unusual type is the cinquain, and it's a form of poetry that makes use of 5-line pattern. Once again, the structure is made, but it is just of 5 lines. The last one selected is limerick. It's as light-hearted and very humorous poem. Now, it has a rhyme scheme which is very unusual. This is specifically AA, BB, A. It always happens like this, that the rhyme scheme is AA, BB, A. Line 1, 2 and 5, they rhyme with each other, whereas 3 and 4, they go together. That's all for today's session. Thank you.